We're here for the Windsor Woods Drainage Improvement Project. Before I get it started, let me just give a shout out. There's some key people here. Councilmember Michael Berlucci's here. Thank you for coming out, sir. We have city staff here. Tony Utterback is the city engineer. She's in the back. And then Mike Tippin is my boss. He's the stormwater administrator. With Parks and Rec, Chad, I see you're here. Thank you for coming out. We also have some people from Michael Baker. They're our owner's rep and advisor for the project. We are using a design build, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along, but there's representatives from the design build team. So Jeff and Brian are here. And then I'll be presenting, and Tim and I will do the presentation. Tim is with Arcadis, and Arcadis is our design engineer for the project. And let me go ahead and get started if we can. So this is the agenda. Man, I was hoping. If you don't mind, I'm going to turn sideways so I can use it to prompt me also. So this is the agenda. I'm going to talk just real briefly on the projects that are in the FPP, the Flood Protection Program. Then I'll jump into the Windsor Woods and the overview for the three Windsor Woods, Princess Anne Plaza, and the lakes. All are very important. Talk about the 4 active construction projects we have out there right now that are ongoing. Then we'll get into the mega bundle projects. Then we have information stations and then open for questions. We're going to do about a 15-20 minute presentation here, and then I ask you to please get up and go to each of the stations. Please talk to the people we have here. The staff members are really excited to talk to you about all of the projects we have going on and the future projects. Some great brochures that we have and some boards. If you get a chance, also take a look at the monitor. It will walk you through in about a minute and a half what the future pump station, one of the pump stations, is going to look like. It's even kind of cool. It takes you so you're like water going through the pumps and going through the process. So really, really interesting and fun. And the technology is just so great. You know, when I first started college, we just drew things on Mylar, and you had to envision what 3D looks like. And now it's just incredible what we can do on the monitor. So please enjoy that. So with that, let's click on to the next. So the ripple effect, there's about 30 projects in the ripple effect, part of the floodplain protection. Go ahead and jump to the next. So there's 30 projects. They're spread throughout the city, and they're all using the bond referendum money. The bond referendum money was 575 million, roughly speaking. That was approved by the citizens in November 21. And we're moving forward with the projects. They're under design, and some of them are starting construction right now. I'd like to use this just to explain to people, when we worry about our weather and about extreme events, we worry about rain, but we also worry about tide. And so everybody says, when you take a look, the red circle there is showing you where Windsor Woods, Princess Anne Plaza, and the lakes are located. They're in the center of the city, and always everybody's like, why do I have to worry about tide? Because I'm in the center of the city. Well, the center of the city is still affected and impacted by tides. The Lynnhaven River well, you first start, the Atlantic flows to the Chesapeake flows underneath the Lesnar Bridge, and that flows into the Lynnhaven, and then the Lynnhaven receives tidal. So the Lynnhaven is always rising and lowering twice a day. Our tidal effects occur. With nor'easters and hurricanes, that water rises even higher. And that's when we really start fearing things, because the water rises. It takes away our capacity in our pipes and in our lakes and in our rivers and creeks, and there's less room for the water to drain away when it rains. And that's what you're going to hear us talking about, is how to protect ourselves from these conditions. Go ahead. So these are the 30 projects. You can see how they're grouped. There's some in Lincoln Bay, there's some in Central Resort, Eastern Shore Drive in the southern half, and then there's 7 are in the Windsor Woods, and those are the main ones that we're designing right now and going to talk to you further about. This is just showing how they're spread throughout the city, and you can click on. So talk about the Windsor Woods overview. So the boundaries, I know most people know their boundaries, they know their neighborhoods, but I-264 is to the north. We got Lynnhaven Parkway and the Lynnhaven Mall to the east. We've got Holland Road to the south, and we've got Mount Trashmore and Independence to the west. Now, Rosemont kind of divides, and I know it's a little hard to see, but to the left you have the Windsor Woods neighborhoods. To the right you have the Princess Anne Plaza neighborhoods, and below that you have the Lakes neighborhoods. All three of them are in low-lying land, and the water flows back and forth between them. Now, Rosemont divides them, but as the tide rises, the water crisscrosses and floods both sides. And so we have to protect all three together. If we just protect it one side, the water will come in on the other side. But just some of the challenges, like I said, low elevations, tidally influenced. We're starting to see more frequent storms and more intense storms, and that's causing impacts. The infrastructure, it's over 50 years old, and it was designed to a lesser standard, and we have higher standards that we build to now, and that's where we're seeing some problems. And then, like I said, we need storage. You can't release all of the water that you receive downstream, because then you're flooding the people downstream. So you capture it and you hold it in ponds and lakes, and you release it slowly over a period of time. But you need to have that storage. When you take a look at Windsor Woods, you see it has Lake Trashmore, it has Lake Windsor, but when you take a look at the Princess Anne Plaza neighborhood, we don't have any storage on that side. And that's why we're converting the Bow Creek Golf Course to a stormwater park, to provide that much needed storage for the Princess Anne Plaza neighborhood. Okay. So active projects, we have the Windsor Woods Tie Gate, we have the South Plaza, Old Forge, and Bow Creek, and go ahead and click on it, I'll start individually talking about them. So Windsor Woods, hopefully everybody's seen it, the big red crane when you drive down I-264, that's it right there. It's located next to Windsor Woods Lake, next to Mount Trashmore. You can see in this little picture right to the left, or I guess that's on the right side, that is that's the skate park at Mount Trashmore. So just give you an idea. In this location, we're building a tide gate, like I talked about, to stop the tide from coming in, and then ultimately we'll build a pump station there also. Because you can build a gate to stop the tide from coming in, but when it rains, now you've trapped the water in the area with you, and you've got to continue that water flowing. And so we use pumps to continue that water flowing and continue it draining down. And like we talked about, it will go into the Lynn Haven River, drain underneath Lesnar, and out into the Chesapeake Bay. So the project started in December 22, and it will be done spring of next year, 2025. Go ahead and click. So this is the rendering we've been using for the last 3 or 4 years to show you what the gate's going to look like when it's ultimately done. If you can click to the next one. This we took with a drone about a month ago. The gates are in. We're now putting the decking over top and cleaning up and getting ourselves out of there. So it's coming along really well and looking really good. South Plaza Trail is pipe improvements. Now, South Plaza is in Windsor Woods neighborhood. It's on the west side of Rosemont Road. When we put new pipes into the roadway, we have to relocate things also. And so you've seen us relocating water and sewer lines. We also have to relocate private utilities, Dominion, VNG, Verizon, Cox. They all have to be shuffled because everybody's evenly balanced, and now you got to fit an extra item in there, and so everybody's got to shuffle over, and that's what you see happening. Now, this pipe here that we're showing is a 72-inch diameter, internal diameter. I mean, that's big enough I could walk down the thing and not even really have to tilt my head. So it lets you know the size of the pipes that we're putting in the ground to get the water moving. And so that project started in July of 23, and we've got about another year for that project. It will be complete in September of 25. Old Forge Road is pretty much finished. We're putting the asphalt pavement on it now. I know a lot of the neighborhood's excited for it to be complete because that will open Old Forge back up and get a lot of the traffic off of Salina and get a little more balanced. With it, like I said, it's finishing up in October, but that will get us to substantial completion. You're going to see the contractor still doing some punch list items and some finalizations over the next 2-3 months. So it's probably going to be December or January before we're totally complete with that. But we're looking to have Old Forge open back up by the end of the month. The Bow Creek Stormwater Park, we're just so excited about this. We need about a million, we need about, let me backtrack. We need about 400 acre-feet of storage for the Princess Anne Plaza, for the big projects. We're going to get about 300 to 310 acre-feet from the Bow Creek Stormwater Park. We are going to excavate 1 million cubic yards of material from it. So far, we've excavated about 300,000 cubic yards, and we're hauling it every day out of here. You can see, let's see, so towards the left, the silver portion, that's the southeast portion of the park. That's under construction right now, and that's where we're doing the excavation work. The orange portion is showing the route that the trucks are taking to get to Rosemont Road and drive out to the landfills to drop the material off. And then the green portion, if you haven't had a chance yet, please get out and see it. We took the old golf cart paths, interconnected them, and made about a 1.5 mile loop that you can walk. It's a great walking trail, and please get a chance to walk it if you haven't. When you came into the rec center parking lot, to the right where the kids' playground is, just follow that. Right behind there is the connection to take you right over to the trail. So phase 1 that I talked about started in summer of 23, and it'll be late 26 when it's complete. And then phase 2 will start fall of 26, and it will go to 2030. Go ahead. So these are some photos of the construction itself. You can see to the right, it just shows you the magnitude of the work effort that's occurring. You've got an excavator and a truck there, and you know, they look so small to all of the activity. And then to your left, you know, that's just showing all of the area being worked. The contractor is cutting it down to the elevations it need to and the grade, and then they put a temporary seed on it right now just to stop erosion, and then they'll get in and put the plants and do everything else. Right now, we're really just working on earthwork, just excavating. Okie doke. So I think everybody's seen this one. We're really proud of this one. We didn't just dig a hole, and we're not just trying to dig a hole and walk away from it. We've worked with Parks and Rec, we've worked with the community to ask, what would everybody like at this facility? We will have multi-purpose trails, we'll have walking trails, nature trails, even mountain bike trails, pickleball, volleyball courts, just incorporating a lot of great information, observation areas. We're going to convert the old clubhouse to a small venue, so small weddings could occur there, or social events or that. So we're really excited about that also. And so this just shows you how it's all coming together. Go ahead to the next one. So these are some of the renderings that we've been showing and using to explain what everything's going to look like. When you start in the top right corner, that is a kayak launch facility, and so we'll have kayaks can launch out into the waterway. So excited. The bottom is the clubhouse and converting it to a social event like I talked about. The bottom right is just showing what some of the nature trails will look like. And then the top right, that's what the observation will look like, being able to look out over the facility. Okie doke. So there's 7 projects in the mega bundle that we're designing now. Go ahead and click to the next one. They get grouped into the 3 areas that I showed you. So in Windsor Woods, we still have a pump station and flood barriers to install, and then some work on Thalia Creek to get better flow along it. In Princess Anne Plaza, we have the North London Bridge. We need to build a pump station. We need to put in tide gates, and we also need barriers. And then in the lakes, we've got to do some channelization there to get better flow and also have gates to stop the tide from coming in. And then we have the Holland Road Gate. I talked about to get the project moving quicker and be more efficient, we hired a design-build team to build and design this project. Flatiron is our contractor, and they are going to construct everything. Arcadis is our design engineer. The 2 of them are working together with us and others to design all of this and to build all of this. There's benefits in working together. We can be more efficient, and we can we'll have a stronger, things should go smoother for us. And we also should be able to do this quicker. So that's when you hear me say it's a progressive design build. We're hiring, we've hired them and they're working together, and we're working on a daily basis to design these things. The construction we're looking to start mid-26, be complete the end of 2032. I'm bad with introducing people. I'm not sure if I did say it, but Tim Hare is going to talk about the rest of the projects. Tim's the lead with Arcadis designing these projects, and then we're going to open it up to go to the station. So with that, let me turn it over to Tim, and go ahead.
Thanks, Mike. Next slide. So I'm going to just run you through what the projects are. We have similar displays in most of our areas, and please go look at our animation. It came in this morning. I am super excited about it. But this is the pump station, Windsor Woods. It sits right on Lake Windsor, as Mike described. It's a big pump station until we talk about the other one. But this is a big pump station. It has about a capacity of 800 cubic feet per second, which is moving a lot of water. And we've completed a 30% design. We've gotten comments back, and now we'll go on to the next phase of this. But this includes, so what we're doing is we're digging down into the lake and having these 6 big pumps there, one's a spare, pushing the water out through the lake. Why do we need the gate? As Mike said, the tides, but also because we're so flat, we can't pump downhill. You know, if we were up in Richmond or something like that, and we were going to have a pump station, we could send it all the way down into the river or to the creek, and we'd keep on going downhill. In this case, the gate helps us from coming back in, which would defeat the purpose. Next slide. Along with that is a flood barrier. This flood barrier right now is going along South Boulevard on the edge out of the street. It's a low wall, and by low I mean it's about 1.5 to 2 feet off the ground total. It's there to complete this ring for FEMA and for flood control. What this will do is not only will it keep, if there was a super big storm coming in, it would keep it from coming up the creek or over the interstate, but it also then helps provide that once we get all the applications in, that this will help provide hopefully some flood insurance relief as well for people living in this area. Next slide. Okay, so now if you think about this, we've got this big pump station, but the water can't get there. So what we need to do is we need to dredge out Thalia Creek along Lake Trashmore going into Lake Windsor. And we're not really expanding it. We're just going to muck it out the bottom to give us that flow capacity. We're also going to put in 2 big box culverts connecting Lake Trashmore, which gives us more storage. As you've probably surmised from Mike, storage is the key to saving this water. If we can get it out of your neighborhoods and into the lakes or into the North London Bridge Creek, that is a good place for it to be, or into Bow Creek, Stormwater Park. It's out of your neighborhoods and it's into an area where then we can manage it more safely. That's also a 30% complete design. Next slide. So here's the big pump station. So the other one was 800. This is going to be rated at 1,200 cubic feet per second. That's going to pull a lot of water. This water is going to be pulled. This is the northern tide gate. You can see here on the bottom of the image. The pump station is in the middle, and then there's another gate up there that we might need for maintenance to keep the sediment from accumulating in that area in front of the pump station. But this, if you think, this is the northern boundary of this system that goes all the way down past Lindhaven Parkway and goes all the way out to Holland Road. That's because any of you who live in the lakes, you live in the lowest point in all this area. In order to keep floodwaters for our design out of your neighborhood, we need to draw the water down, again, to create that storage. And when I say create storage and all this, I'm talking about we're going to draw down to the low tide line. We're not going and sucking everything dry and waiting for the storm. We're going to get to a manageable level that's environmentally good with our permitting people, and then we'll use that for storage up, and so it goes up and down. Next slide. So we also have flood barriers with here. So this extends, if you see here, we have the tide gate penciled in on the right. The pump station is on the other side of the tide gate off the screen. This is a line that goes, again, another low wall that would go between the Legends apartments and the condos to the north basically along that property line. This again keeps water from coming into this area. Again, when I say this right, we're talking about a 9.5-foot level elevation on this wall. The 100-year flood event from a hurricane is 7.5. So we're talking about a super big storm getting in. This is a just in case. It's not like we're expecting water to be flooding in here with every storm. And that, again, that design is set 30%. Next slide. So down on the south side, we have another tide gate. I don't know if you ever looked at a map. The area around Lynn Haven Mall is really on an island. You've got the creek on one side. You've got that big canal number 2 on the other side. If we don't build a southern tide gate, the water can come around from behind and still get blown in, and then we'd be pumping again. We don't want to pump against ourselves. We don't want to pull extra water down. We have this, we don't want to build too big of a pump station. So this is a way of setting that boundary. To do that, we need to separate out the channel coming from the lakes, which is in the under Lynn Haven Parkway, and Green Run Canal. We can do this and put Green Run Canal into the lower part of the creek because this will not impact flooding up in Green Run. There's enough capacity in that creek to absorb any flooding that comes up. So we're not trying to flood Green Run, we're just trying to keep it a boundary to it. And again, this all contributes to that bowl, that long stream of water that we're storing. Next slide. To finish this off, we're going to have 2 flood barriers to help connect this all into the creek and the tide gate again. One is going to run along Lynn Haven Parkway from almost Lynn Haven Road down to the creek. Most of this is going to be running along that landscape feature that you see along Lynn Haven Parkway. It's kind of hilly and there's a path. Excuse me, most of it's going to run along that. We're still working on the design for the parts that aren't in that path, so there's going to be more to come on that. But right now, this design is in 30% review, and this connects in high enough up that we can get to, you can see the tide gate down there at the bottom of the screen. Next slide. The other part of the tide gate actually runs along Green Run Canal. So this is going behind all those commercial businesses on Lynn Haven Parkway. This is like the Pep Boys and the car wash. And so this area, again, we don't want the water coming up into our area and then flooding out those businesses, but also so then it gets into our pump station. Again, we have finite resources. We can't pump everything. That, along with the north, is in review. Next slide. Finally, we have Holland Road Gate. So if you're familiar with Holland Road, there's this, it's really not a good slide, I apologize. We have it better on the graphic in the back. There's a little canal that connects into the lakes that goes under Holland Road. So this gate sets the back door of this. Along with it, we're going to do, there's existing stormwater pipe on these 2 streets, on Chimney Hill and on Carew, that we're going to see if we need to increase the size of those pipes to have it all fit. That again gives us capacity to get the water out of the neighborhoods into the canals where it can be stored until it needs to. Open that gate and then let it flow out. That was a lot. It's a lot to design too. So please ask. I've got some of my engineers here. They're here to answer questions. They're more than willing to talk to you about any of this. Do I have another slide? No? So our information stations are around here. Basically, our existing current projects are over in this front end of the building. And then in the back are our 3 stations. So we have a station for Windsor Woods. We have a station for North London Bridge Creek, and we have a station for South London Bridge Creek and the Holland Gate. We have people at each station. I'll be floating around. Ask me questions. I'll be more than happy to talk about this. Yeah, I know, I'm a nerdy engineer, and I like talking about this because it's really cool. It's really hard, but it's really cool. And so we want you to be as excited about it as we are because we think this is going to help a lot of people in your neighborhoods in the future if we had another storm.
I have one general question for myself, and I'd like to ask it out loud.
Yes, sir.
You spoke a lot about the floodgates and everything going into London Bridge Creek. How does all this affect me as a resident on London Bridge Creek with all that water coming in and out? Not today, but 5 years from now.
That's a great question. It should not, if you're on that creek.
But you got gates holding something.
That's right.
For a purpose.
So,
Well, I'll jump in. We agree, we were concerned about that. We had CDM and Dewberry and Davis study it. Dewberry and Davis did the sea level rise study for the city, and they did the modeling to tell us where we're going to flood now and how the city will be impacted from sea level rise in the future. Virginia Institute of Marine Science talks about 1.5 foot in 20 to 40 years and talks about 3 feet of sea level rise in 50 to 80 years. So they took a look at that study. We used that study to then take a look at the CDM, merge the others, and there's no impact to you because with a couple of different answers with it. One, when the pumps are running, we will have sensors downstream and upstream to make sure we're not pumping the water too quick. Like I talked about, you've got to control. That's why it's called stormwater management. We can't take all of the water and just dump it downstream because then we'd flood people downstream. So we've got to manage it. The other thing, and a lot of people get concerned about, we all in our songs sing about the tide rolled in. Well, tide doesn't roll in. Tide just rises and lowers. And we see that every day. We live with it every day. The tide rises and lowers. We're fortunate here. Our tidal fluctuation is only about 2.5 feet. If you've been up to Maine or areas north of us, their tide fluctuation is almost 8 to 10 feet. It's really wild to see how high the water really can change. So Dewberry put all of that together and studied it. So a lot of people fear that when higher tides are coming in, they're going to hit the gate and this water's going to splash everywhere and flood the people next to the gates. That's not going to happen. The tide just rises and the tide lowers. It's not a slug of water coming in. I know in our movies, we like the drama of it, and movies always show that, but it doesn't. Clarence Warnstaff, who was our director of public utilities, he was trying to help everybody better understand that. When you think about it, boats seek refuge and they go into coves. They come into the coves because it doesn't get impacted. It doesn't have that extreme that if you're out on the ocean or out in the bay. And that same thing is happening with us. The tide's just rising and lowering. You're not having that slug of water. But we do have this study. We shortened it into about an 8-page brochure. We've even have a presentation, so if you want, we can come out to a couple of neighborhoods and explain that and go through it. We put it together for Thalia, and then COVID came, so we never really got a chance to do it. But I have talked to a couple of the little condo associations and talked some about it. But I know movies get us worried about that, but we've studied it, and it's not going to happen.
Now, I understand. I see the creek rise and lower due to the tidal. I see that and I understand that. But with the creek being, if you're building this floodgates holding back all the water for a period of time, they open and close it up automatically. I personally anticipate that Linden Haven Creek in my backyard going to be rising a whole lot much more than what I'm anticipating, what I see today. It's just my opinion.
Sure, and I'll talk to you some more about it. Something, if you can go on, USGS has put gauges throughout our city. And you can take a look and see there's a gauge at Lesnar Bridge, there's a gauge at the Boulevard, there's gauges on Dam Neck Road. You can look at the gauges and you'll see the water gets to about the same elevation. Now it kind of lags about 10 to 20 minutes from Lesnar to the Boulevard, and that's probably because it's about 7 to 9 miles depending on which way you're going. But they always hit, and even when we have storms, that water is hitting the same elevation. We're not seeing differences. Now, for Matthew, it was a little bit different, but that's because we had so much rain hit us that the water was trying to get out of our community. But when you look at a normal storm, we just have the same water going from us. For Matthew, we really didn't have a tidal influence. It was all the volume of rain. And unfortunately, that's the same thing that Asheville just experienced also. But let me talk to you to the side. Let me let everybody else, please go see the stations and get talking to our staff. And thank you, everybody, for coming out.